solid state drives. Who's got a real cool laptop that has a solid state drive in it? So, guess what's going to happen in a while after you've been using the heck out of it? You got to get into the solid state drive. Genius on their part, because hard drives would last you forever. You could take it out of one computer, stick it in another one, and it'd just keep chugging along. No, let's put solid state drives in there. It's faster. People want faster. They want slicker. They want neater. And they wear out faster. We get to sell more. Really? And the bad thing is, my favorite company, Apple, the worst offender of all. I'm sorry.
I was curious on when you're talking about the RAM and getting into the USB drives. Have you dealt with Slack space where they write to the Slack?
Yes.
And getting in there, you might want to explain to the class what Slack is.
Okay. When I talk about making a forensic copy, you are literally copying all the ones and zeros on that media. And what basically happens is you will have, let's just take a hard drive to make it easier. You will have a sector. In a sector, classically, you will have 512 kilobytes of memory, okay? Next to Windows. So, be careful with that. But here's the thing. How do I want to say this? Well, first off, did you tell anybody who I was before I got here?
I explained to my class.
Okay. Did anybody look me up on the internet before you came? No? Okay.
We didn't even know you were coming until like 2 minutes before we walked in.
Okay. Sometimes people do. And those that do, I always say, you'll make a great investigator. Because one of the traits of a great investigator is somebody who's curious, always digging. Google is their friend. They look everything up. Okay? And one of the things that I always talk about is you can find anything on the internet if you take a minute and learn where to look. And case in point, we had a very, very bad man in the North Carolina area. No cop could get a picture of this guy. Every time they tried to get a picture, either he had a hat down or he was like this, they could not get a clear shot of this guy's face no matter what they did. And it was driving them nuts, because you've seen it on TV. They had all the pictures of the crime ring, and then they got the one guy's just a shadow because nobody knows what he looks like. And so they're talking to me, because one of the things I have done is I've worked on network investigations and hacking. That's where race comes from. I'll explain that in a minute. I promised I would. And so they're telling me, can you find a picture of this guy? Really? Okay, so they give me everything they got. And on one sheet, they talk about the fact that he dearly loves to play golf at this one golf course. And I'm thinking, okay, he plays golf every day and you clowns can't get a picture of him? Really? I got telephoto lenses. I can get a picture of him, right? But, again, sitting at my desk, drinking coffee. Very good. I go onto Google and I start researching this golf club. And of course, what do golf clubs have? They have, this classic, this tournament, that tournament. I called up these local tournaments, and there's all these golfers grinning with their clubs, because they shot a great game, this, that, and the other. And all the names are along the bottom. Guess whose name is there? I counted 5 from the left. Bingo! I got a very clear, grinning picture of this guy. And I hand it to the lead investigator, who is now really upset. I was going to use another word. Really upset. Because I found it in like 5 minutes. So, I will tell you, Google is your friend. Here's another thing. You're working on something. Somebody hands you a hard drive. Here's a cool trick. Put the model number and or the serial number into Google. You will now know everything you want to know about that hard drive. In some cases, it'll even tell you where it was sold originally. It's amazing what's on the internet. Okay? So.
The stuff above water.
Oh, yeah.
Not the dark water.
So, yeah, and that's just the stuff that's just out there. Who's vanity surfed themselves? Run your own name through Google, see what's out there?
Yeah.
Here's the fun thing. If you search for my name, especially if you search for Jim instead of James, you will find a guy that's like the big grand Mahatma of model railroads. And so I get all these people that will come up to me at a conference, and I always know. They're trying to impress, and kind of fell short. So like, so, you like model railroads, huh? Nope, I haven't had one since I was 3. You know, but at least they were trying, right? I don't slam them too hard. And when I started doing certain kinds of investigations on those parts of the internet that people didn't used to talk about, but now we have all these cool dark names for them, you don't just wander out there when you do what I do and put your name out there.
No.
There's a reason my internet service at home is not in my name. Because I'm a target. I mean, think about it. These guys are out there for glory, you know, and there's these little things, you know, like, ooh, I hacked a bank. Okay, here's your, you know, merit badge for hacking a bank. Or, hey, I hacked a telecom. Here's your merit badge for hacking a telecom. Ooh, I got Jim Cornell. Here's a big merit badge for doing that. Because I put a lot of them in jail. And so I have a target painted on my back from those guys.
Yeah, there's still somebody in Uganda looking for you.
And there's still a guy in Uganda. Yep. Doing forensics, just a standard, pulled the guy over for speeding, he got out, and he got his gun before I got to mine. That's all I'm gonna say.
Where did you get shot at?
I'm sorry?
Where did you get shot at?
Where'd you get hit?
Right here. And Kevlar works.
Were you able to return?
I did get a shot off, yeah, but I was unconscious before I hit the ground. It is like being hit by a train 5 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the Kevlar?
Kevlar just stops the bullet from going.
That's it. Yeah, it stops the bullet from going through and making holes and letting stuff leak out. But yeah, it broke all my ribs, my breastbone, my collarbone, and then you get what's called deep thrombosis, bruising. I collapsed a lung. They thought I'd been shot in the arm. Actually, one of the bullets hit my badge and blew a piece of my badge through my bicep.
Oh.
Wow.
What were they shooting with?
45.
45?
Yeah.
Close range.
45 is pretty nasty, of course.
Position where you are, we have to take criminal justice courses.
Not necessarily. You can if you want. I mean, if it interests you, absolutely. It can't hurt. Get the basics. Okay, I wouldn't like go get a whole JD because then you're going to be making way more money than you can as an examiner. Attorneys make stupid money. So if you can go get a JD, go for it. And send me a card because I may need an attorney one day. I recommend classes like you're taking. People that come to me just out of the clear blue sky, I always recommend they go take an A+ and learn hardware because you are going to have a fairly decent understanding. You have to have no fear about taking the cover off a computer and taking a hard drive out. But once you get past that, it's pretty simple. Everything else of that kind of hardware you can learn on the job. The more you learn, the more valuable you are. Okay? Here's another thing. I don't know what you did in high school, but get with, if you have any problem getting up in front of a crowd and talking like I do, get with like Toastmasters or these groups that help you get over stage fright and get over not being able to talk to people. Because you need to be able to talk very, very comfortably, very, very confidently to people in a jury and in a courtroom. Because if you can't do that, you won't win. I will tell you that right now. If you get up there and you talk softly and your body language is doing this, you just lost. You are not going to win that case. I promise you. But if you can get up, talk comfortably, know what you're talking about, never, ever try and BS in the courtroom, you lose immediately. And you don't work again. Okay? Once you get caught doing that, no one will touch you. So, be careful with that.
So Jim, that's a good segue to your, I'll say, longer. The students need to know what kind of basic knowledge you need to get into at least elementary starting position in this environment.
Sure. So the first thing is have at least a comfortable understanding of hardware. Not deep. You don't have to know how to write an operating system, but understand what they're doing. Like I say, understand how they write the things. It's kind of a silly book, and you guys may have already blown way past it. There's a book called How Computers Work, written by a guy named Ron White. And I've known Ron for years, and a number of years ago, he and I were talking, and we realized there's no book like that out there. And he goes out and writes one. It's like, I missed that one. I could have made money on that because he lives well because of that book. Just understand how these things work. Quick question. Star Trek fans. Original Star Trek fans. Okay. So there's a scene in one of the early Star Trek movies where Captain Kirk's ship has now under the drop of bad guys. And they're like, uh-oh. And so Kirk and Spock issue commands from their ship to the other ship, telling that ship to drop their shield so they can fire first. Okay? And there's a line in that movie that I used to have digitized, and it played on my computer every morning when I came into work until my coworkers went, knock it off. Basically, it was, sometimes it pays to know why things work on a starship. And that's what I'm going to tell you. Knowing how this happens, perfectly fine and well. The difference between that, and by the way, you can do very well in this business just knowing how it works. If you actually get to the point where you know why it works, dude, you are now in a whole new pay scale. You will also be one of those people that attorneys and law firms cannot come find often enough, because it's going to be hard to pin you down in a court of law and ask you a question you can't answer, at least conceptually. And again, if you can talk and sound really confident, I could be talking about the endocrinic properties of resublimated teotimuline, but so long as I'm confident and I convince that jury I know what I'm talking about, chances are I'm going to win, and the bad guy's going to go down. Wow, really? Nobody bid on that. Okay. You guys are smarter than some of you look. I'm just going to say that. Here we go. That's a joke. You all look really smart. I'm the dumb one in the room. Yes, sir.
Hey, what year was that when you went over to Uganda? And what was the name of the, was it like a guerrilla group that actually did the massacre? Like that?
I went to Uganda approximately 2011. I cannot tell you the name of the area. I can't tell you the name of the bad guy, and I can't tell you the name of the group he was with, because I have security clearance and they will put me in a prison if I do. But, unless I'm, I'll see if I ever emailed Hillary, and then you can just go look it up. I'm sorry, sir.
Were you in the Philippines in 2012?
I was not. I've never been to the Philippines.
I was just wondering, it looked familiar.
A lot of people say that. And you know, for the longest time, I had a guy I used to work with that went, dude, you look like somebody, and I can't put my finger on it. Who?
He said Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper?
No, it just added up because I know you work for the DOD and I was on a special forces compound. You look like a guy that was out there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service.
I was just asking.
Yeah.
Curiosity.
There was a TV show, Homicide: Life on the Street.
Yes.
And there's a comedian that became an actor. And I can see him, but I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head. The Belzer.
Richard Belzer.
Richard Belzer.
Yep.
People always tell me I look like him, which I guess is good, because when I was young, people told me I looked like the singer Eddie Rabbitt, who died. And I was never sure if they meant before or after. So,
Your nose is not as big as Richard Belzer's.
I'm sorry?
Your nose is not as big as Richard Belzer's.
Anything I say would be wrong.
Have you ever worked on a mob case?
Like organized crime? Oh, yeah.
Those guys I think would be a little more.
Yeah, the organized crime guys have no sense of humor.
No.
In the early 90s, I came out to go to work, and I realized that the hood of my car was standing open a little bit. Like you just pulled the handle and you go out and grab and open, right? And I knew I hadn't left it open. So I go inside, ask my wife, did you do something under the hood of the car? She's like, no. Really? Could you get the bomb squad out here right now, please? And I looked under the hood of the car, and there was a device wired under the hood of my car. All it would have done was literally scare a few years off me, but it would not have hurt me. It was meant to let me know that I was probably doing something that annoyed me. They were not stupid enough to actually try and kill a cop. But they will find ways to make your life very miserable. And so yeah, organized crime can be interesting. You got to every case can be interesting. It depends on what it is you're dealing with. And the problem is you get complacent, and that's a problem. And I always tell new guys and people that I talk to, try never to get complacent. Try and bring something new to every case.